Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video, we are gonna learn how to make an LED blink using Arduino. So first, let's learn about what an LED is. LED, as we all know, stands for light emitting diode. It's a forward biased PN junction diode which emits visible light when energized. This is a symbol for a LED. The arrows indicate the light radiation photons which are coming out, and this is the plus side and this is the minus side. The plus side is called the anode and negative side is called the cathode. So as we know, during charge carrier recombination takes place, the electrons from the n side cross the junction barrier, cross the junction and recombine with the holes on the p side. Now electrons are in higher conduction band on the n side, whereas holes are in the lower valence band on the p side. During recombination, some of the energy differences is given up in the form of heat and light, that is photons. For silicon and germanium junctions, a greater percentage of this energy is given up in the form of heat, so that the amount emitted as light is insignificant. But in the case of other semiconductors like gallium arsenide, gallium phosphide, and gallium arsenide phosphide, a greater percentage of energy released during recombination is given out in the form of light. If the semiconductor material is made translucent, light is emitted and junction becomes a light source. A light emitting diode can be made up of following materials, and the light emitted by the following materials is given. For example, gallium arsenide emits infrared radiation, gallium phosphide emits red or yellow light, gallium arsenide phosphide emits red or yellow light. LEDs that emit blue are also available, but red is the most common. An important point to note is that LEDs do not emit light when reverse biased. In fact, operating LEDs in reverse biased will quickly destroy them. So LEDs can be classified into two types, and another condition into surface emitting LEDs and edge emitting LEDs. In surface emitting LEDs, the LEDs emit light in a direction perpendicular to the PN junction plane. In edge emitting LEDs, however, the LEDs emit light in a direction parallel to the PN junction plane. So this is a real life LED, and the longer side is the positive one and the shorter side is the negative one. The longer positive one is called the anode and the negative one is called the cathode. So a maximum current an LED can take it on is a 20 milliamperes, which is 20 into 10 raised to the power minus 3. So as we all know, Ohm's law, which says that V equals to IR voltage equals to current into resistance. As in an standard Arduino will produce 5-volt output, and I for an LED should be 20 into 10 raised to minus 3 amps into resistance. Using this formula, we can find the resistance, which comes out to be 250 ohms. So we can use a resistor of approximately 200 to 250 ohms to resist the current flowing through the LED in order to prevent it from getting destroyed. So this is the RGB color chart. You can remember the colors using BB Roy of Great Britain had a very good voice. So our color code will be something like red, green, and brown, or red, black, and brown. So let's start coding. So as I'm not able to show the Arduino in this video, I'm going to use Tinkercad, which is a simulation software. You can You should create an account and log in. I'm going to use my Google account. You can use whatever you want. And go to account section and click on my designs. Go to circuit and create a circuit. So let's drag an Arduino and a breadboard. For those who don't know what a breadboard is, basically it is a thing which makes connection very easier and doesn't a board which helps us do circuit connections without soldering and all the hard work. For example, all the pins in this vertical direction are connected with each other. So for example, if I give a voltage over here, all the pins in this region will receive that voltage. Whereas if you go to these four lines, if I give a voltage here, they are horizontally connected, which means that if I give a voltage over here, every single pin in this line gets a voltage. So let's remove this now and we will use it later. Let's bring in an LED and a resistor. Resistor we put 250 ohms. Rotate it. I'm rotating it using the R letter in the keyboard. You can also rotate it using the symbol over here in the GUI. And I'm connecting the anode to the one end of the resistor. I'm gonna make it red, and the other end to the 5 volt. You can also connect it to 3.3 volt, but you should use the resistance accordingly. And the cathode to the ground. And click on code to start coding. Click on text and continue. So the Arduino uses a programming language known as Sketch, which is very close to C++ programming, which is like a variant of C++ programming, but not exactly C++ programming, because it has a few methods and classes which are not there in C++. So let's create a function void setup and another function void loop. So a void setup is a function where you write code which needs to be run only once, that is during the initialization process. And the void loop is the area where you write the code which needs to be run infinite number of times. That is each second the code in the loop section will be called upon. And since we are using LED connected to 5 volt, we don't need to write any code, and let's start simulation. And we see that the LEDs lighten up. But our aim is to make an LED blink. So instead of connecting to the 5 volt, I will make the connection to the 10 pin in the Arduino. And I am gonna define the pin it is connected as const int LED equals to 10. So the const basically means that this variable LED cannot be changed in the future. LED is just a variable name. You can name it whatever you want. And int is the data type. This const is optional. By default, Arduino Sketch programming language will make it mutable variable. But if you, in case you want it to be immutable, add the const keyword. I like doing it. If you don't like it, you don't need to do it. And we should declare a pin mode which says that whether the pin should be expecting an input or an output. And every line in Arduino Sketch programming language must end with a semicolon. And the pin mode function takes in two arguments, the pin number, which is 10, but we don't need to do it because we have declared a variable called LED, and the type It's an output, and output should be written in all caps. Arduino sketch programming language, like other programming languages, is case sensitive. And in order to light the LED up, we write digital light LED, comma high. So what it does is tells, hey, mm, take the LED, which is basically pin 10, and provide voltage to it or current to it, and hence the LED will light up. And we are going to use a delay function, which is like whenever Arduino comes across this function, it will wait for a particular amount of time. It takes one parameter in milliseconds, so I'm going to write 1000, which is basically 1 second, and I'm going to write digital write LED, comma low. Note that both high and low are in uppercase. Now, so what it does is, let me explain this code once more time. In the void loop will be executed every single time, that is each second. So digital write will be the first command to be executed, and it take the pin LED, which is 10, and make it on, which basically ons the LED, and then it waits for 1 second, and then it offs it. Let's see it in action. As you can see, we are not able to see it blinking because the time is very low. So let's increase the time and restart the simulation. It waits for 5 seconds and it will go. Okay, we need to wait after this as well. There you go. Our code is working perfectly fine.